Good afternoon. In a previous video, I was talking about gathering up some of the green beans that were left on the vine to dry last year. Looking at it when I did, it looked as though I wasn't going to be able to gather anything. I got looking out there, and everything on the north side of all the planters, which gets a lot more sun, was actually in good shape. On top of that, the weather was really nice. T-shirt. So I just decided to gather what I could at that point. There's stuff right along the on the southerly side, kind of shielded from the sun by the top of the planter. It's not going to be salvageable. It's got some snow piled up right there, and so everything is moist and is just didn't dry properly, and that kind of thing, which is fine. We've got plenty. So I just wanted to show you what I'd gathered, and I was going to show you a little bit of some of the currants. I'd planted a couple of currants kind of at the end of the growing season last year. And so I was going to kind of show you the new growth that, even though it's winter, the new growth that they've already got on them as well. So let me show you what I gathered for the green beans, and then I'll okay, what I was able to successfully grab, about 2 Walmart bags of the green beans. This is the green bean we really liked so much. It's the contender green bean, and clearly I've got to process all these, but you could see how big the beans were. I've got to get everything out of the dry hole right there. But I've got a good amount of green beans, the actual seeds from what I grew last year. So this ought to be enough for us to plant and harvest for ourselves. It's just my wife and I. So we actually grow probably more than we need the majority of the time, but having a little extra is always a better thing than not having enough, for sure. We can always give some away. I've got a daughter that lives close, and she'll get some green beans, some carrots, things like that. But anyway, this is what I was able to harvest for seed for spring here, which is coming up very soon. But I'm actually ready for spring. So this is what we got. I'll have to get all those out of the hull and get them ready for planting, but that's what we were able to gather, and that ought to be plenty for what we're going to plant again this year. Okay, and these really don't look like much. They're not very big, but you can see there's a lot of new growth right here, little buds all the way across. You can see in the back stem here, new growth here, new growth. And these are doing really well. I was a little concerned last year because of how late I planted them. You can see the new growth there. Similarly, here, a lot of new growth. So they're doing probably better than I had hoped. I wasn't sure because of how late I had gotten them in the ground. I wasn't sure how well they were going to do. But it looks like they're doing very well. I'm sorry, everything's kind of out of focus. But it looks like they're doing very well, and I look forward to seeing how they come on in the spring. You can kind of see I've got 4 of them here. So in that previous video as well, I had talked about tilling a lot of these things back into the soil here. You can see back here, there's a bunch of tomatoes that were overripe when I did get to them. As I said, when I left for work, nothing was really ready, but then when I kind of got back, we had a lot of stuff that was overripe, or some of them are actually still too green. And it's a very confined space for the tomatoes right there. But anyway, what I'll do with those is, clearly I've got to get the grass out, but I will turn all that into the soil. I'll put compost over all of this, or the entire area. And then the fruits and things like that, like the tomatoes and that kind of thing, I'll turn all that into the soil and get it tilled in real deep. Like these peppers, things like that, I'll get that tilled in, and it'll basically become fertilizer for... You can see that part of the bed in the back, that's the southern part of the raised bed. You can see it's got a good layer of snow in there. The ground is still very moist, and that part doesn't really get much sun. So what's happened is many of the beans in there have gotten moist and are decaying and that kind of thing. So when I get back from work this next week, I'll get all these cleared out, get everything cleaned up. I'll pull out all the drip lines and get everything ready for the growing season that's going to be coming up here. It's never a bad thing if we get a decent day to where I'm out here in the sun. Even though it's a little brisk right now, I think it's about 34, which for me is plenty warm for a t-shirt. But I will be out here and I'll get all these things cleaned up. I'll get the drip lines out of here, and I think I'll do a video on the drip lines themselves when I get back as well. All right, look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks for watching.